just be the choice, as Varus is the choice here.
Maokai as well.
Maokai.
Definitely a pick that's probably trending towards support right now, but was, of course, at the World Championship a very viable jungler, especially in the earlier points.
Yeah, and nowadays, I mean, anything can jungle, except maybe Yuumi. I'm not even sure about that. Maybe she can. So we'll have to wait and see. Potential flex pick, but Varus, Maokai, an insane amount of poke. Here's Ashe.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about this too is you can get all the OP picks, but they don't necessarily work well together. So you have to balance your team comp here. And picking up something like Maokai gives you a lot of engage. You already have poke range here on Team Deft side, so you're very flexible, I think, at this point. Team FAKER, of course, having the Ksante this early is one of the busted picks, but you have great long-range engage too with the Ashe. And now you've got two amazing engage options with the Sejuani ult and the Ashe arrow to come through. So a lot of initiation here for FAKER's squad.
Ksante can always throw his body in there if he wants. Not scared to do that. And Chovy's got a quizzical look on his face, thinking about Ryze, but also thinking about Fiora. And there it is.
Now these picks, Ksante and Fiora to both be in the same game here, I think is only possible due to our no-ban rule set. Because these are on the top of the list right now.
Yeah.
Should be fun to see them actually clash against each other. We might not see that on this patch even a single time in the LCK.
Yeah. I'd say it's extremely likely. Well, let's
Seems very strong into what Deft's team has put together here too. With the Fiora. And Varus can obviously chip away at the Heimer a little bit, but it's going to be hard to close the distance on a team that has insane damage plus engage. I actually like this comp for FAKER's team a lot.
Yeah, I think their first three picks really got them started off on the right foot. This mid lane, okay, well.
You called it.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a good pick. It's good into the Ryze. Just going to go for that. As Peter is going to play support Jhin, no doubt.
Support Jhin has
been the talk of the town.
Has been a thing, but like I've seen it on a lot of high-level streams in the North American region. I've seen it a few times in Korea, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen here. Will be the karma. So The Maokai heads to jungle here. So it is going to be more of a World Championship style play here from Cuzz on the Maokai. The Sejuani jungle, Ksante to top lane. And Viper's Ashe, Viper's first champion back on Korean soil here. It's been so many long years. I told everyone the one thing I want from the offseason is I want Viper to come back to Korea. I got my wish.
Yeah, you did have to trade
I did.
some other players, but that is the way it does be during the offseason generally. But we got Viper back, 8-team fights. What I really mean is just run really fast and kind of chip away at them. Straight up 5v5s. Maybe give that one to TF versus Touchdown on the right side. Twisted Fate versus Touchdown as we are 3-manning the bottom side because we're trying to get some saplings
Yep.
to the bush.
Turrets making this very annoying. Some Spell Thief's edge stacks here for Beryl. But some gold traded back for the turrets.
GG.
Is dueling over control of these brushes. Really important in a matchup like this with the poke that Varus can provide. With Karma too.
Yeah. Mid lane might just turn out to be a little bit of a farm fest. I think, you know, both of these players especially, I think they're going to be trying really hard. Everybody wants to get their emotes in the game, so, you know, the draft looked really real. Everybody seemed to be trying to pick their best stuff. It all makes sense, right? And I think we're going to see equally serious gameplay. So, should be fun to see, you know, who's actually better in terms of these two teams. One change. Okay. Oh.
Here's all the runes.
That's definitely a change to the broadcast. This is very nice.
Yeah, very easy to see.
And you get to see everything. I mean, you used to get to see everything, but this is, it looks bigger, you know?
Yeah. Much cleaner,
Nice.
I'd say.
Yeah.
What change were you going to mention? Were you going to mention the jungle pets?
Yes, I was going to mention the jungle pets. There are new pets in the jungle. If you don't play League, you know, maybe you're just one of those watchers. One of those guys, you know, used to play a lot. I know there are a lot of you guys out there. You know, you used to play seasons 1 through 5 or whatever, and then, you know, real life took over, but you still tune in to Pro League of Legends. You're watching every day. You're a big-time watcher. You might be like, what's going on in the jungle? Well, there were a lot of changes. There were a huge amount of changes in the jungle, but there are now pets in the jungle.
Yeah, the pets will help out a lot of junglers who had really bad clear in the past, be able to push through. Adds a lot of extra damage. Depending on which pet you've chosen, you might get, you know, some extra shielding when you're running around and stuff like that. You'll get some passive healing and stuff like this. And we're not going to go into all the changes. That's, you know, better for some upcoming broadcasts, say on challengers that we will be commentating officially.
Wait, what?
Yeah. And then, of course, the LCK.
We're also going to be commentating that officially.
Yes.
Make
So,
sure you're watching that.
yeah, big news. Taking a chance to promote it.
Yeah.
But anyway, the jungle pets are going to make it you know, a lot more junglers viable, but I think at the pro play level this early on, you'll still see more common junglers at use. In this series, who knows? We go down the rabbit hole a little bit.
I feel like it kind of evens the playing field, you know? It kind of, as you were saying, brings up some of the lower tier junglers, and it kind of pulls down some of those Omega clearers because of some of the changes to, you know, just getting resources back and stuff like that.
So Willer can engage from a really long distance away with his flash and with the speed boost his jungle pets can give him from bush. So Chovy respecting that a lot. I say that, he walks forward, but it looks like he'll be fine. Chovy, by the way, used to be the teammate of Willer, and Willer was his bodyguard during that 2021 resurgence of Hanwha life. Now his enemy there in the brush for just a moment.
Yeah. And Chovy's going to come in here. Touchdown, Chovy. Obviously, Team Deft Chovy, if you haven't caught on to that just yet. Clears out some vision. And the Ryze, another big change here, if you guys haven't heard. You probably have. Rod of Ages back in the game. It is very good for the Ryze. It offers you a speed boost at times after you cast a bunch of spells. And it also gives you a free level when you complete it.
Yeah, it's massive, especially for champions that want to have levels. Ryze, I mean, any champion wants to have a level, but like some champions are going to get huge benefits out of it. And starts the tier here. And before this patch, and we'll see if it ends up being true on this patch too, but there was a combo, of course, with Rod of Ages and Seraphs. It was really commonly built together. Changed on this patch, combined costs a lot more expensive, so you don't get, like, the buying tier first and getting like that free extra 400 gold towards it feels a little bit bad, but the stats are better, arguably, so we'll see if that ends up being still a thing. Not as strong of a combo as before. So we will potentially have a skirmish here. Beryl's rotated up.
Yeah, the Beryl gank, a bit confusing. This is very much seen. There are about 7,000 approximately pings on the bottom side of the river here. And so Chovy's just going to play that safe. They should know that he knows.
You ever think we'll see the hook ping in pro play? The bait?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. No, yeah, maybe used for its original meaning, I would assume. But not for its alternate one.
Yeah.
The Chemtech Drake, it's alive.
Yeah, it's not going to be a Chemtech Soul this time around, so we'll get to see the cool new plants and stuff in this game.
Rift. Yeah. That, yeah. When I saw that Chemtech, I'm like, they're just doing this to spite me, aren't they?
Yeah, you're not a big fan of the plants.
I hate the plants, actually, personally. But I know that a lot of people like them. They do add to some of the junglers' mobility early on in the game, stuff like that. But, yeah. Either way, that's a topic for another time. Just you know, for the future, if we do get Chemtech Rift, something to mention.
Certainly true.
Get there.
Beryl just put a little bit of damage on Chovy in mid while Viper was coming back to lane. To lose control of the lane here a little bit bottom side, and Varus Karma can be very annoying to deal with here. Beryl keeping himself topped up as best as he can, but lane control now to Deft and Peter. And we saw Willer down here for a moment to potentially punish this as, ooh, big damage onto Viper with that early Dirk.
Beryl is not scared to get in there and try to fight this one as well. Very curious to see where this top lane eventually goes. For now, they're just trading almost exactly evenly. Viper definitely having a rough time with this harass. I mean, they do have a decent amount of harass themselves, but not quite the same amount that Varus, who's hitting all of his stuff with this early item, can do.
It's like Peter wanted to potentially go for an all-in there with the speed up, and they have Ignite, of course, but I think better if it's still pushing them out of lane here and might be able to push for a plate once these turrets are cleared. This is really unfortunate for Team Faker. Beryl going to try to hold down the fort. Willer nowhere to be seen, so we'll just be some extra plate gold. Slightly buffed on this new preseason patch.
Yeah, you can see that Viper was considering staying, but he knew that, you know, it was just too obvious, right? Because if he stays, you can do like the Faker thing where you hide behind the turret, you hide yourself, pretend you back, and then you just stay. But Deft and Peter were not going to back in that situation. They wanted to plate, so it's better to just get the back in. You're going to lose that wave anyway, and now you can actually fight.
Well, with that crash coming through and Viper having to come down and catch, this means that Team Deft, of course, will get control of the Herald here. Chovy having control of mid for just enough time to rotate over. Peter here, too, with the roam. And that should just be a free Herald going over to Team Deft. Not going to look for a dive with it, though.
Yeah, not quite yet. This top lane, we keep on panning up to it, but nobody's really getting in there. Dudu and Morgan, definitely not the most aggressive of laners. But Dudu, you know, I say that, but in the past he used to be that way. But he definitely started to get a bit more aggressive in recent times, for sure.
His Gnar, in particular, was really a big standout pick for him in recent times, but he's had lots of aggressive picks too.
Okay, Chain of Corruption. This is a massive amount of damage. You see that Viper again. He has a refillable, and he did take biscuits. Definitely both sides of this matchup taking the biscuits, all 4 players, it looks like. Maybe Deft didn't.
Yeah, I don't
certainly
think
could have.
I don't think he did, but I may have just missed it.
Everybody else having biscuits makes sense for the lane being what it is. Willer able to hit that smite. Nicely done.
Yeah, Willer having a slight lead in terms of the clear with the blue pet. You have a lot of ways to speed that one up, obviously, with the bushes and whatnot, to get through the jungle faster. hasn't really been seeing much action in this early part of the game. No Drake take as we crest the 10-minute mark here. Still just so contested between these two squads. And with Fiora on one side, if you make a heavy commitment, it will cost you big. And I think Team Deft have just been happy to sit back and have mostly control over the bottom side of the map here, while Fiora takes the weak side, top side.
There's the Drake take. He's picking it up. And this feels very much like the LCK Wolf, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
This is, yeah. Just kind of hanging out. Everybody really wants those emotes. I do not blame them. You got to win these games. But that's 2 objectives now going over to Team Deft. Cuzz doing a good job with that. Both junglers getting pretty close to finishing off their pets, getting them into adult mode, fully evolved.
Get those big smites.
To get the bonus effects as well, as here's Willer. Faker going to totally miss, as Willer is not going to miss, does a bit of damage, but Chovy doesn't even have to flash. So because Faker kind of goes in there and whiffs early, there's not too much of a threat onto Chovy.
Yeah, Beryl shows, so there's an opportunity here. Bottom side.
Ooh.
Oh, chains. If those land, Viper is, at the very least, would have had to flash there to avoid if they were in range. He gets away without using it. Well played.
Yeah. I'm glad you used the correct version of Flash as well, because Viper himself said in the interview that he is a flasher and not a flasher, and he recommends that everybody use Flash on F. So if you want to be like Viper, put your Flash on F.
There's something weird about using Ignite or Exhaust or Teleport on F as well, isn't there? You know, it just doesn't seem right.
Yeah, it just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not about that life.
I don't discriminate against Delashers, but I do suggest.
How about Teleporters?
Okay, hold on. Cuzz ulting.
Oh, here we go. Dudu is going to ult away, but he is still going to get rooted. But, you know, just Ksante is going to go a million miles down the lane and say no. And that's essentially what he does. Going to be totally safe here.
His dash lets him be unstoppable, so he has a pretty decent escape from a lot of ganks like this.
Yeah. He also already has Iceborne Gauntlet, by the way. This is now Iceborne Gauntlet.
Yep.
Very much like what Iceborne Gauntlet used to be.
Old school.
Yeah. We're bringing it back retro style here.
I mean, just the less Jack shows I see also in this game, the better.
Yeah.
Every solo queue game I play is like 7 Jack shows in the game. Supports Bill and Jack show, I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it does feel like, you know, it is a very strong item, but I feel like people are so hyped about the item itself for a good reason. I mean, it's very strong, right? But the amount of people that build solo queue is probably too many.
Yep.
Of
course, slightly nerfed on this patch, too, in terms of the healing it does. You can't get healing from minions.
Faker!
Whoa, a rare
Miss.
Faker double miss.
Ooh, maybe a little rusty here for the old man in the mid lane. As Dudu, he is going to dash once again, does not have his ultimate available, but now he's getting dove under the turret, but he is so tanky as that arrow's just going to sail wide. Morgan taking way too much damage and hit away, but Faker is not going to miss this time around, and he should have been able to sweep them up, but Chovy at least going to trade one back somehow under the turret, and Maokai is just so unbelievably tanky that it took forever for them to kill him.
Now Beryl rotating down here to try to perhaps engage on Deft. He has both Summers and a ward here, so we'll be fine. We'll back away. Really cool arrow attempt there as well from Viper, even though it went wide. Morgan's timing of that parry almost perfect as well, as Chovy will pick up Rod of Ages here at 14 minutes. So 24-minute mark to have that fully stacked and to get the extra level. It's a pretty nice timing to have this one. Just like old League of Legends, you want to build that as soon as possible.
Oh.
Beryl! Where's he coming from?
Where did he come from? Oh, man. Okay, well, this guy's dead. Poor Deft. Viper doing a good job of baiting that with his heal. Didn't even have to flash. But got into the thick of things, slowed up Deft. Deft using both summoners. And Beryl, you know, you talked about it. The guy goes for crazy plays. He's got some great shot calling, and he makes it happen, most importantly.
Yeah, look at the position here as well for Viper's arrow angle. Like, he's shooting it down from left side here. Flash gets taken. Morgan doesn't get the riposte, or rather the parry, because the arrow misses. But then the follow-up here from Faker is good. Chovy gets Dudu with the root, blasts him with 1 extra Q. Well, the trade definitely favoring Team Faker here. And on the bottom side of things, Beryl just hanging out. You know, where is he? I don't know where he's at. And then suddenly, flashing Heimer over the wall. Ults out, Deft is doomed. Deft trades Flash, hoping he could trade one onto Viper, excuse me. Also, the cleanse goes down, but he's unsuccessful. And we do see the Ravenous Hydra start here for Viper.
Yeah.
So very important he did not die as those get stacked up.
Yep, that's also a thing in the bottom lane here. As, okay, maybe going to try for a bit of a dive down on the bottom side. The arrow to be used as well as the flash. Beryl going to try to eat the root, but they both get hit, and now they're both just totally destroyed here. Viper also going to go down. Very nice play from the side of Team Deft to get down on the bottom lane and take the summoners and the kills.
Yeah, just barely on the edge of Cuzz's root there with the Maokai ultimate. Feels bad, man. Then, of course, the follow-up combo from Deft is deadly. And Deft rushed Ghostblade, so he's got some extra movement speed to close the distance on those, plus the lethality with the early Dirk build. Standard, lethality, Varus variation here. Don't think Dudu gets punished, but that's going to be second break going over to Team Deft. Easy peasy.
Mountain Soul to be the one, as we do have the jungle item here completed for the side of Willer. Almost for Cuzz. Probably just one more camp, considering he's probably got a bonus treat at this point in time. And they'll have the Rift Heralds here in mid. This is the second one, so no plates, but still should be mid-turret, just based on the fact that everybody was backing after that one. As in goes the ult for Dudu. He's really getting in there onto Morgan, who doesn't seem to care too much. And the last auto will be Viper on mid-lane turret to take down the first turret of the game.
TP here from Chovy to try to catch Faker between a turret and a hard place.
Yeah, and Faker is just going to ult. Chovy will
Realm Warp,
dodge that. Here comes the Realm Warp. He's got a bunch of minions, too. That's going to force the flash out of Faker. Definitely some nice movement there from Chovy.
Oh, man, we're going to see this at least twice in regular season. Faker versus Chovy in 2023 spring. Looking forward to it. This is the Maokai ult that starts it off bottom side here. Follow up from Varus. Cuzz gets in there, knocks him back. That was beautifully played from Cuzz and Team Deft. And down here on the bottom side, I mean, control remains in Team Deft's favor here for the bottom side of the map so much. And Fiora hasn't fallen so far behind here for Morgan to where you feel bad about things. Still holding on to this turret. Still a side laning menace later on.
Yeah. Ksante, still just as annoying as before, maybe more so. He's stacking up the armor, and he does a fair amount of damage as well. So all the trades are very nice. Ooh, Deft's going to be forced to cleanse. And so they're kind of just getting that off cooldown here. Very nicely done by the side of Willer to be very proactive in the mid lane.
To be so careful here as Deft playing with fire, trying to trade these arrows in for damage against the Sejuani. Obviously, Willer's ult being down. Cuzz, speaking of ults, looking for a trap on the Viper.
He's trying to get in there. Viper is going to be rooted up. This guy is totally gone. He does not have flash. He does not have his support. Not that that would have helped, I don't even think, because the Maokai would have sailed under that stun. So Viper going to be clawed out in the mid lane.
Yeah, heal expended, just hoping he can get past that Maokai ult. Not the first time we've seen the near escape when Cuzz decides to engage, but he's not able to make it happen this time. You can see the upgraded smites online. That's the new logo for the 1200 damage. It's AoE as well, which is usually not that important, but can be for that smite. As Dudu really wants to try to take Morgan out. You're trying to bait him into this engage with Willer with his ult back up.
Yeah. Just one thing to mention, I don't think we mentioned this, but of course, with all the melee tops, it feels like Sejuani just goes up in value even that much more.
She's got the speed boost from the brush as well.
Oh no, Morgan totally baited out here. The riposte not going to work out well for him. He is just gone. The damage way too much. And Cuzz was like kind of there, but by the time he was already caught out, Cuzz and probably Morgan himself knew that he was not in a good spot. As the knockup also coming in here. Cuzz gonna be slowed up. In they go. kind of missed there, but in comes the flash from the side of Willer. And he's looking to chase down Cuzz, the knockback, and the ultimate used. As the whip going to hit, and the arrow comes in, but gets over the wall.
The plant buffer.
Gotta love the plants.
Yeah, I knew you were Willer nearby. And he's in the brush here with the speed boost. Sejuani with the melees you're talking about, so strong in situations like this. And no ultimate for Cuzz. Still on cooldown here. So he does get chased down, has to flash, use his ultimate to escape. So still on cooldown as we speak. So a lot of resources burned here for Team Deft. And FAKER squad getting a small gold lead here after that turret goes down.
Yeah, it's feeling pretty good for them. It's kind of insane what Ksante and Sejuani can do together. You know, we were talking about it a little bit during the draft, but we're probably not going to be seeing this too much just because of how strong Ksante is in general, but also this combo. We're already beginning to see just how strong it is.
With Thornmail done too, his ultimate is just crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun time. As now, of course, Team FAKER going to be challenging for this Drake. Not going to let this third one go.
I mean, 2-item FAKER here with Void Staff and Leandrius. This is definitely a good team fight for them if they can extend it out.
Yeah.
They have so many great engage options too, so if Deft gets caught, that's basically the end of the story. Same with Chovy.
This poke isn't really hitting, and Viper's able to get in there and push out the mid wave. The arrow is going to sail totally right down the middle and not hit anything. As here comes the ult onto Cuzz, but they're not committing. They want to turn onto Morgan. Here comes the Maokai ult, as they will just try to burst down the Drake. They should be able to get it. No smite steal here for the side of Team FAKER. And it feels like Team FAKER could have probably gotten a little bit more aggressive, but maybe playing it more safe for this one.
It's really tough, you know, Morgan's on that flank angle, resources committed, and they actually end up hitting Cuzz. Worst possible scenario, right? He's got his Radiant Virtue, he can heal up, and he's going to be so obnoxious to kill there, can just ult everyone away, and you're kind of caught as Team FAKER there after that.
And they say, okay, well, let's just do the Baron. I mean, they have a bunch of turrets. They have an Ashe as well. It's a lot of damage coming in, but Vision given over to the side of Team Deft as the knockup. Dudu's doing such a good job of keeping Cuzz out of the pit. That is going to be Baron on the side of TF, as now in goes FAKER, but he's all alone and immediately gets stunned. Trying to go for the TikTok highlight, but unfortunately, he is going to be put in the bin instead.
And that's Fiora getting a lot of extra money here, a lot of extra value as her side laning phase is coming online here. She's got to TM it up. And, you know, you could argue this is definitely the right call here for Team FAKER. Take a risk like this. Looks like a straight up out of T1's playbook move, right? FAKER's like, I think we could do Baron here. This is the T1 style. You could take FAKER out of T1 for the show match, but you can't take the T1 out of FAKER.
Yeah.
They get the Baron, but there's so many sticky champions here for the side of Team Deft. Chovy's got the flank angle, so 2 will go down. Morgan picks up the double, and that's a ton of money in a Fiora's pocket at the worst possible time.
Yeah, there are post stun onto FAKER. I mean, even if he doesn't get stunned, I feel like he probably just dies before he kills anyone anyway. So maybe not the best moments for him to go in, but maybe he just assumed he would die anyway. Not going to amount to too much. It is 2 members on the side of Team FAKER that still have the Baron. Should be the bottom lane, Viper and Beryl.
About 20 seconds for Chovy's Rod of Ages to finish. I think that's why the observers are highlighting here. Has level 16 already. So in this case, he's going to get a lot of value in the experience and the base stats, but he's already got what he wants in terms of his skills. Is Morgan?
Okay, that's an insane amount of damage. Chovy just flashing on top of Viper, his former teammate. He's like, yo, what's good? Welcome back. In goes FAKER. He's got a nice one. Gets reposted again, and the damage not quite there. They finally are able to kill Deft. As now they're trying to play the long game. They're trying to use that sustained damage, but Chovy is such a monster right now that I'm not sure that you really can. Some really nice poke on the side of Team FAKER, but as you can see, they're not quite able to match the damage here from Chovy. Dudu's still trying to land that knock-up. Not going to be able to, though. As there you go. Level 17, by the way.
Yeah, and that's a full bar of experience. It doesn't just complete what's left of your level. It goes straight to that percentage on the next one. So still very valuable. As that's annoying, but
got him.
Ashe arrow basically a free cooldown as Dudu wants to challenge here. Don't know if that's advisable because Realm Warp is up.
It's level 3 Realm Warp. It's like, okay, yep, we are everywhere. And we are on lower cooldown.
It's Imperial Mandate Ashe with this Ravenous Hydra, so, you know, even fully stacked on the Hydra, the damage is pretty good, but it's not a super hyper-fed AD carry late game. It's more utility here for the build. So I think when Faker is killed in this exchange with the Repose, you just can't compete with Chovy's damage on this fed level 16 Ryze. Beautifully played here from Morgan, predicting the angle, reposes Faker. It's a trade of damage dealers, but I think a trade up for Team Deft. I mean, you could see Team Faker want to push the issue further, but they just don't have enough damage there. Lots of initiation, but not the sustain they need. If they had Faker's Leandri's damage, different story.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see that we have seen a little bit of split pushing from Morgan, and certainly Fiora can still be an insane menace in the side lane, but Morgan just showing off some of what the Fiora can do in team fights as well. And with some of the new itemization, you know, you can kind of be anywhere. As Faker now, speaking of anywhere, he was about to get reposted for the 3rd time by Morgan. He's getting dunked by Morgan in this game. As Peter, you know, he's in a lot of trouble here. He's not dying somehow.
He survives a long time here.
Actually immortal. Just karma things, I guess, as now he's going to get another speed up here. He is going away, trying to avoid the Naga, but eventually just dies anyway.
Yeah, they don't commit to try to trap Dudu there and kill him. We'll just die in the trade. But yeah, I was literally going to make the joke. Faker's like, I've had enough of these repose stuns. I'm going to buy a stopwatch. And then he has to use the stopwatch because of it. Yeah. Moments later when he's found and caught on Gromp. Speaking of side pushing, side laning here, Chovy hits level 18 and takes out an inner turret.
It's 26 minutes into the game.
319 CS, something Ryze hack. Chovy Ryze hack, 320 CS. Yeah.
Jonah Strong is back. In 2023, by the way, guys, so you'll get more zoom-ins like that.
Okay, Mountain Soul, by the way, incredibly important for both of these teams.
Yeah, look at health bar of Beryl already. I mean, this is and not Faker, Willer. They both, you know. But either way, let's see if Willer can actually get into the pit. As actually, Team Deft, they're just going to let Fiora split push. He does have teleport.
Yeah, they have 3 Drake advantage. They don't have to fight for this.
Yeah.
Slow it down.
That's true. Looks like they're just going to try to give this one away because it's still sticking around, but they're getting so much value elsewhere on the map.
Realm Warp to the minions onto the mid-inner and
your base.
Inhibitor turret is open. Chovy Realm Warp those minions on top of it here, so they will trade a solo Drake for double turret worth of value here. 4,000 gold the advantage. They won't be able to get the inhibitor, but it's open now for a fed Fiora.
I think it was 3 turrets even, right? Either way, a massive chunk of value going over to Team Deft. And, you know, the draft here from the side of Team Deft, as long as they didn't fall behind, was always going to be insanely strong in these later game situations with the split pushing. That's exactly what you said early on, Wolf. And here we go. I mean, this is exactly what happened. They got a small lead from winning a couple of team fights, maybe a couple of overzealous moments from the side of Team Faker, and all of a sudden, I mean, Chovy's going to be level 18 for the rest of the game. He's miles away from everybody else.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the thing is, too, Team Faker have a lot of single target blow up and a lot of ways to isolate someone, but Deft's positioning has been good. He's had most of his summoners up pretty much both of his summoners up pretty much most of the game.
Yeah.
So it's hard to target him. You hit Cuzz, you don't want that. You hit Peter, not the greatest, as Deft can just cleanse that. I mean, that's a good trade for Viper, of course, but still, it's just so hard to lock this Varus down, sitting on 3 items.
Yeah. And it's the Varus who is so consistent in the poke damage, but Chovy is actually just a moving machine gun. Not to mention, you know, as I talked about when we first saw the Ryze, the Rod of Ages, it gives you that speed up, that little bit of oomph behind everything else, you know, not to mention the extra level, not to mention the stats that you get from it. He's just flashing in. Look at Beryl's health bar. It's nearly gone, and he's so tanky. Did he go too far is the question, as Deft is going to snipe Beryl from downtown, but huge stunts coming in from the side of Team Faker, and they will put 2 of them in the dumpster. They turn this one around. Chovy this time overestimating his power. They also didn't even have Morgan, who's in the bottom lane, still being very annoying.
I think the idea here is, look, we've got a lot of ways to slow Team Faker down. We engage here, we get a pick, we can disengage, buy a ton of time. This should be inhib. Even with Dudu coming over, Morgan should be able to kite this one out. Has Ghost as well. But you're going to lose a Baron for this. Definitely an overextension. But it's not all bad for Team Deft. I mean, there's still 3,000 gold ahead. They will give over a lot of that Baron gold too. But they're still in firm control of this game. Could have been better there, and Team FAKER will get that Baron as a consolation prize.
Yeah.
But how can they utilize that against Ryze split push? The 1-3-1 is just so amazing here, as this is the overextension, right? Trying to blow up Beryl here on the backside. Chovy takes so much damage. The Ashe flows are going to be such a pain to deal with here. And there's just not much you could do. FAKER hits the double knockup. That's the punish. And they're like calling, Morgan, go, go, go. Get what you can get.
Yeah. Chovy being forced to stopwatch for a lot of after his engage as well because of the Ksante, right? I mean, his ult is just insanely game-changing. The amount of CC he has in his kit is just ridiculous. So you see he tries to get in there and tries to blow people up, but immediately he's like, oh crap, I gotta react. I gotta react really quickly with the stopwatch, and I have to stop doing damage, otherwise I'm just gonna get 100-0 because, you know, Ksante being what he is, and all the other CC they have in their comp as well.
Let's see what Team FAKER can get done with this Baron, right? And there's a lot of gold to be picked up here. The bounty has fallen off, but still standing gold on these inner turrets. And it's going to, of course, really equalize the bottom push here of the inhibitor being down, take a lot of that inhibitor time away here. Going to push it down to about 130 of real active time. They can 4-1 this a little bit and keep the Fiora back. Force Morgan to defend. There's no, split push win condition at this moment in time to kill the Nexus.
Ult is out. It is an immense amount of damage onto Deft already. The shields are good.
So much peel for him, though. He doesn't actually have to worry. He doesn't have to expend his flash. His cleanse is coming back up. He does take a ton of damage, but this turret stands.
Yeah. Will stand. The Baron certainly is going to give Team FAKER a breath of fresh air. Please not again. If he got riposte stunned after going in again and then somehow turned on, I would have been dissatisfied, let's say.
Every FAKER stand sheds a tear.
Yeah.
And we're all FAKER stands. Even if you think you're not, you really are.
Yeah, I mean, this dragon about to come up here in 10 seconds. TPs to be used. And the Baron's still available. You see, this is actually going to make a big impact on where the lanes are at. Team Deft, as a team, are able to push out bottom lane at least. But now Chovy this time, he's not going to flash in because, of course, he doesn't have flash. But he can just walk at them and be a little bit less aggressive in that case. As the arrow, everything onto Cuzz, he eats so much of the damage. And that's actually really good for the side of Team Deft. As in goes FAKER, he's going to hit two of them. Just a crazy amount of damage to Peter, but it's not a great follow-up.
Yeah, no follow-up on the Maokai ult here either.
Space, I suppose, gets his team positioning now. Chovy pretty low, in goes Cuzz, and he steals it away with the flash smite. And these smites, man.
His smite just came up. He used it on the scuttle. Morgan's trying to win the game, meanwhile. So Dudu isn't here. That's one of their best tools here in this fight. He's not here.
Yeah, and they kind of forcing them into a fight as well. They don't want them to go back and deal with the Fiora, as now Fiora, here comes Morgan. He's level 18 too. He's looking for the big wraparound here. He is going to be spotted, but I'm not sure that that matters. He is a little bit ahead of his team, but he's still looking to get this angle onto FAKER and Beryl specifically, as over the wall he goes.
He's got Grand Challenge too. I mean, he is going to rip somebody to shreds.
It's kind of difficult for him to go in 1v4, though. He really needs his team to back him up, and it looks like they're not quite able to get in position in time. Not a position they wanted, at least, to take the fight. Yeah. So, Team FAKER does get away, but they lost an inhibitor turret, or rather a Nexus turret, and the Mountain Soul.
Look at Cuzz's smite timer here. He used it to grab this scuttle. So they delay here in this fight, fight back, and Team FAKER torn between rushing the Drake down or actually just winning the fight. Need to do enough damage to keep this poking Varus away. Cuzz gets his smite up, flashes in, and steals it away. It's 1,200 damage on Season 13, so just enough damage to take that one out, and they end up getting the winning play because of it. Morgan grabs that Nexus turret in the base and forces the enemy top laner to stay home when he comes back for the chase. That's why Team FAKER has to rotate all the way up to the top side of the map, losing valuable time.
Yeah, and actually I was watching Dudu in that one. He had to leave the fight early. After Faker ulted, he actually just ran into the enemy jungle and had to TP back to base. It was such an awkward timing for him. He wasn't able to do Ksante things in the team fight, and then he was just there to essentially stop the game from ending. So talk about removing a guy from the team fight. That's definitely a fantastic way to do so. You haven't really been able to see some of the crazy Ksante highlights so far. Not compared to what Morgan has been able to do on this Fiora so far, at least.
Yeah, you could see what Dudu was able to do in the lane, but because the strong side for Team Deft was bottom, okay, reposted again. This guy can, or rather parried. He can block anything. But yeah, what the strong side for Deft on bottom side just meant that they didn't have to care about the Ksante top very much, and Morgan held his own, survived, then got that double kill in the mid game, and just exploded when he ended up getting the hull breaker, which is an item we haven't talked about in a while, but relevant here.
Still exists. As Viper, very much in no man's land. He is going to have Willer with him, but Willer also had to flash away from that one. Ryze ult used, but heal as well as a flash will be used on the side of Team Faker, as once again everything kind of just thrown into a Maokai who just laughs at them, moves on with his life.
He just really doesn't care, doesn't even pop his item. Radiant Virtue, this doesn't need it.
Don't need this yet, as now he's going to lead the charge into this one as he's trying to get into the pit. He does not have flash, and it is going to go the way of Team Faker. Dudu in the back line just doing so much work on the feeder, but he doesn't quite want to go in all alone, and the threats on the side of Team Deft are insane. They're looking to move in, Deft over the top. Looking to get that damage on the Viper, not quite able to land it. Cuzz still looking to lead the charge, but he's taken huge chunks now from Faker, and he is the one that has to run away now. That tank not quite so tanky against that very fed Azir.
Arrow not going to connect. TP here from Chovy back into the mid lane to try to take out this inhibitor turret, but very risky call to make. Won't actually find himself getting too much value here as the bottom inhibitor has also spawned. Team Faker holding on what felt like for a moment a tiny thread, just barely hanging in there, but now really winning some convincing team fights here. As we move into this Baron fight, lots of ultimates used early. Deft gets that Radiant Virtue, cooldown reduction for his Qs, wants to be the big damage dealer here, but it's really Dudu who makes the hero play into the backline that gives enough space here for Team Faker to kite back and use Faker's level 18 Leandri's damage to win that extended fight. And it's really the Azir damage with Death Cap online now that's going to be so frustrating. Talked about he keeps getting picked, he keeps getting picked. There's not enough sustained damage for Team Faker, but when he's alive, when he does survive through that initial initiation, because the Baron is really the pivot point, he can do so much.
Yeah, you know, if we talk about the extreme late game here, the range advantage should go over to the side of Team Faker, especially just with the Azir alone, but also the Ashe and the Heimer to just kind of zone them away. They're fantastic at kind of kiting and, you know, running backwards while they're fighting, you know, just essentially kiting the enemy team. And that's why Chovy's flashing into fights and stuff like that, because he has to get into close range to actually do some big damage. So Faker's positioning, I feel like, going to be extremely pivotal when it does come to these team fights.
And with another Baron buff, they're really starting to close the doors here on Team Deft split push win condition with no inhibitor down. Look at Morgan, he has no TP, he's just looking for a flank angle here to try to punish, try to catch Beryl, maybe Viper on the backside, but there's a lot of peel for him. Faker sitting on sums too.
Okay, here we go. This is one way to get straight in your opponent's face as they're just going to Ryze ult in, and they're going to find Beryl on the backside. Down he goes immediately. They get in range, and they're able to burst them insanely. Here's the knockback now onto Viper. He is in huge trouble, and this is exactly the team fight that Team Deft were looking for. As down should go Dudu. Well, he is Ksante. So he's just going to get away, I suppose. Maybe.
Trying to push mid in the meanwhile.
The flash is going to come in. Faker going to miss that one. Stopwatch comes out anyway. Who's going to win this? Faker flashing the Q. He does an insane amount to Chovy. Forces him away and continues the push.
But the base is open. I don't think Faker could defend this. He's not back.
They have to back.
He's so late on it.
Are there any minions there? It doesn't look like there are.
Nope.
That's actually going to help here. Is it enough, though, is the question. As Morgan gets in, tries to zone away Faker, and they should have enough here now. As Sejuani goes down, Willer not enough. And the Nexus will be taken here by Team Deft in game number 1.
no joke, pretty sick game of League of Legends, actually. I didn't know if we were going to have just for fun games today. We were going to see some, some really silly drafts. But, of course, with all these champions open, we got to see an amazing game. We saw some really nice macro. We saw Team FAKER really play some great team fighting when FAKER was able to keep his position good and stave off the pressure in those fights and then do that Leandri's damage. They looked very good in the late game there.